Welcome back to the Emerald Codex 2012 edition. My name is Dell. You can find me on Twitter at TheWorkedShoot. We're going to talk today about the Nosferatu clan, named for the 1922 FW Murnau black and white classic. And I really can't recommend it enough. If you haven't actually sat down and watched it, it's on YouTube, but really go either find a download of it or go get a disc of it, because sitting in a dark room and watching it, everybody I've shown it to has just about the same experience, which is for about 20 minutes, oh, what is this hokey black and white stuff? And then then Count Orlok shows up and shit gets real in a hurry. He's just the perfect Nosferatu. We're going to talk about why Nosferatu are the best clan to play in your local World of Darkness live-action game. I think the reason that the Nosferatu are the best is because they are sneaky devils. There's nothing more fun than decloaking in front of two courtesans who are having a conversation and just raising one gnarled finger and going, I'm not sure that's entirely accurate, and just watching their face crash. Nosferatu are also masters of information, but they're also info abusers. They're blackmailers of legend. And that's lost a lot, I think, when people point to NOS Infonet as a problem. The NOS are secretive, and they are their own thing. They're almost their own sect, separate from the Camarilla and the Sabbat. NOS work with other NOS. They work grudgingly with the other clans. And every time that you have an interaction with a non-Nosferatu as a NOS player, you need to be thinking, how does this advance the clan's goals, rather than how can I take advantage of this and improve my personal station. The best way to think of a concept if you're thinking about playing a NOS is first ask yourself why the Nosferatu choose their child. They either choose them because they're useful or because it's punishment for that particular mortal. If it's useful, it's because that NOS is either in an intelligence community or has some useful insight or useful skill that the NOS would love to get their hands on, because anything that one NOS can do, all the NOS have access to. The other way that NOS choose their victims is if they think that that person has a little bit too good of an opinion of themselves and needs a little punishment. You don't see these NOS last too long. A lot of times they embrace them, give them just long enough to realize what's happened to them, and that NOS goes and watches their final sunrise. The hardest part about deciding, though, is unlike the other clans, there's no restrictions on who they target. Where a Toreador, you were probably an artist or a art critic, and if you were a Ventru, you were probably high society or high finance or government. Whereas the NOS just go for whoever can help them best. Each NOS is unique. I know it's not exactly helpful to say, you can do whatever you want, but you really can come from any background at all, and it just depends on what you bring to the table as far as a NOS. So, and the NOS aren't just spies. They're not just spies and guerrilla tactics fighters if they're working in the sheriff's office, or couriers if they're working for the sheriff. They're also scholars and philosophers, but the fact that there are Nosferatu down in the Warren somewhere on the 3rd or 4th level deep, sitting in rooms full of musty old books and reading by some weird light cast by phosphorescent mushrooms, doesn't make that an interesting character to play. It's great that they're there. Keep them in mind if you're buying mentors or allies. Definitely have a NOS scholar in your back pocket to pull on. But the idea of sitting around away from the rest of the game thinking for 4 hours isn't exactly my idea of a great time at a LARP. So what do Nosferatu think of the other clans? Well, the NOS who are embraced because they were punished and then managed to get over it and deal with it, they're the ones who are always skulking around Elysium or walking around with mask up all day trying to deny their nature. And the rest of the the real NOS, the useful NOS, go ahead and revel in that. And they love stinking up the joint, bringing a little bit of classlessness to the classy Elysiums or classy conclaves that they get invited to. Nothing makes them happier than walking by a Toreador with flies buzzing around some open sore on their face, and the Toreador grabs a pocket full of posies and puts that up to his face. Even though they don't breathe anymore, they have to keep up appearances. Which brings me to Mask of a Thousand Faces. I just want to harp on it again real quick. It's not a popular discipline among the Nos. They're prideful after a fashion, and really it's honesty. They're prideful of their honesty. They don't try to pretend to be noble or aristocratic. They value honesty. Lying to one Nos lying to another Nos is one of the worst offenses that you can subject them to. What do they mean to the court? Well, a good sheriff or a good keeper is not going to rely on them. They're a great thing to have, a Nos who's clued in and wants to advance in kindred society will definitely try and help out a sheriff or a keeper, but they're not going to be relied on, because a good sheriff or keeper knows that Nos will feed you and feed you and feed you info and data and plans until you really need their help, and then prices will go up. Nos are experts at jacking up prices at just the right time, where what used to be a minor boon or just because we're friends is now a major boon or a permanent transfer of a status dot. So if you want to learn a little more about the ideas behind Nosferatu, another good spot besides the 1922 movie is actually Clan Book Toreador, of all places. There's a great little short story, less than a page long, about Nosferatu and the Toreador progenitor and how they met up. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it is a really great read, a really short read, and explains a lot about the policies that Nosferatu have for themselves. So I'm going to segue here from theory crafting to more concrete things. First thing I'm going to do is tell you to check out your local game and find out, even before you write Nosferatu on your sheet, find out how your game runs Nosferatu lore and buy up to Nos Scratch as soon as possible. This is obviously way more relevant if you have other Nosferatu to play with, but Nos Scratch is basically somewhere between Rainbow Six hand signals and full American Sign Language. It's close to maybe like how a third base coach operates in a baseball game. You can transmit complex ideas, not full sentences and theories, but way more than just stop, go, hold up, and more, I think he's lying, do you think we should take him out, let's go on 3 type things, which is handy to be able to do in a way that is completely invisible to non-Nos, as they can't understand the difference between the scratching at your face you're doing now because you were about to cap this guy, and the scratching at the face you're doing because there's a centipede in it. A little talk about the disciplines available to the Nosferatu. Obfuscate is obviously the best of the 3 disciplines available to a standard Nos character generation. Obfuscate 1 can be good if you can arrange a meeting between 2 parties that you'd like to learn more about at a neutral location. Just go stand in the corner and hold up one finger, letting everyone know you've got 1 obfuscate up. Even better, what you can do is actually, once the meeting is arranged, have a storyteller there and say, I will be standing in Obfuscate 1 in the corner, let me know when the scene is over and tell me what happened. As much as players crow about, I don't metagame, if there's a Nosferatu standing right next to them listening to everything they say, they're going to modulate what they say. Obfuscate 2, even better. Obfuscate 3, Mask, obviously we talked about it a little bit, but Mask does have the ability you can spend blood or willpower, depending on how your particular game's house rules run, to mimic a specific person. You may need to use a perform with a skill in acting or a subterfuge roll, depending on, again, your game specifics. Being able to actually impersonate another person, if you're skilled at it, and you can be fairly successful at it against humans, is an incredible ability that I can't say enough about when you need to go make something happen or make trouble for someone else. Now, potence, I have all levels of potence listed as absolutely worthless in my books. If a Nos gets in a fight, something has gone horribly wrong. You may need to get the first dot of potence just so that you can effectively work on the Warrens, but a Nos in a fight, unless you are built as a combat Nos, is generally a bad idea. And there's nothing wrong with Nos being scary, but honestly, New World of Darkness Nosferatu are far, far better at combat than WoD Nos are. Finally, Animalism. Jumping ahead of myself there. Animalism is fantastic because Animalism all keys off the same skill, which makes it incredibly efficient for XP spent. Anything you want to do with animals is Animal Ken the skill. Whereas if you want to interact with humans, it might be Subterfuge this time and or Etiquette this time. It totally depends on how the storyteller feels and what's going on in the scene. Anything you do with animals, Animal Ken. And that goes for all the Animalism dots. There's a ton of stuff you can do with it. Animals can be used as reconnaissance. You can hire crows for basically a dot of blood or half a dot of blood to go ahead and follow around people. Within a few weeks of being in game and using Animalism, you should have a comprehensive list of where everybody's havens are, which is a handy piece of information to have. You can also use it for day raiding after a fashion, whether or not your particular ST allows you to use Animalism-dominated termites to chew out the foundations. You can certainly send rats to go screaming out of the restaurant of some gastronomical Toreador food appreciator, and bring the health inspector in and have them attacking them during the day. And then we get to Quell the Beast, which is busted wide open. If you're playing in a game that uses Mind's Eye Theater, you can use it to literally shut off an entire other vampire's powers for the entire night, which is pretty good, I've heard. As far as other games where it runs more like the tabletop version, or Quell can actually be used even more effectively than Dominate against humans. A quick tap on the shoulder and suddenly the sheriff is not interested in chasing you more than he's interested in just lying down for a bit. I want to talk about Nosferatu and how they are unique among other clans. The Nosferatu share a haven, which is pretty much unheard of in other Camarilla clans. Obviously the Giovanni do it, and the Tremere do, as far as you can consider the Tremere as part of the Camarilla. But the Nos certainly share a haven, and they share a haven not just with each other, but also with Nos from other sects, and the occasional Samedi passing through. The Warrens themselves, you really need to get together with your other Nos players and just sit down and draw it. Just draw it and make stuff up. Go ahead and just draw in where the phosphorescent mushrooms are, where the breeding pools are, where you keep your 50-foot albino alligator, where your white room is, where your studies are, where your NOS Infonet access nodes are. Just draw it up, make it all up, make the STs tell you what the difficulty is to make your vision a reality. If they... And no ST is going to be upset at this. They're going to be excited that they now have instant plot and difficulty to throw in front of you. Oh, you want to build this? Well, you're going to need, way more copper cable than you can easily scrounge. You're going to have to go use influence or go beg somebody to provide that for you. And map them out also for another really important reason, which is when somebody gets upset and they decide they're going to astral project into the Warrens, make sure you have a labyrinth in there, because you can easily get lost and separated, and astral projection doesn't let you escape mazes, just lets you walk through walls. But if you don't know which way is up anymore because you've designed the maze to be sideways for a portion, that can lead them just diving into the center of the earth. So definitely have some system in place so that when somebody says, I'm going to go to the Nos Warrens, make it known that that's a really bad idea, and do it through ST approval, and have a card or some piece of data logged that basically says, if a non-NOS comes to the Warrens, have fun, and let the STs do their job of killing stupid characters. Not players, but characters. The other specific NOS thing is ShrekNet itself. I don't think it's a good tool to go to as a first option for, oh, there's a mystery. Well, let's go get the NOS to go on ShrekNet, and then, oh, Godhammer, there's the solution to the mystery. ShrekNet isn't even admitted to exist by any NOS. No NOS says, oh yeah, let me get on ShrekNet and find that out for you, Mr. Prince. They'll say, oh well, I have some friends I can talk to, but who knows what they know. ShrekNet is by the NOS and for the NOS, not anybody. It's their info, and it's theirs to possess, not anybody else's. We're going to shift gears here and talk a little about the out-of-game concerns of playing a NOS. First of all, costuming. NOSes are great. Nosferatu are great to costume for because they are all about wearing whatever. They're basically party rock swag wearers, where whatever they rolled out of the sewers in today is what they're going to wear probably for the next couple months. So just go to your local Goodwill or Salvation Army discount used clothing store and buy the rattiest looking coat you can find, maybe some slacks that have seen better days, and then throw them under your car and drive over them a couple times. Go ahead and spray them down with some dye, and if you can, give them to some baseball player friend of yours doing second base sliding drills, and let him go to town on the pants for a while. The worse you can make it look, the better. And then important, never wash it, ever. Think of all the stains and various colors and drips that have gotten on it as battle scars, and your clothing will get even more character from week to week. You can Febreze it for out-of-game concerns if they're getting a little too grody, but try not to wash it if you can help it. Also, go for it. You know, we're all getting together and pretending to be fake vampires for a couple hours. You have no dignity left at this point. This is what you're doing on a Saturday night, is pretending to be a fake vampire. So go ahead and pick your nose, you know, blow your nose on your sleeve, spit, you know, swallow, snort, anything you can do. If you can actually put knots in your hair or add, you know, a little bit of flour to your hair so that it looks like you have horrible dandruff, just go for it. There's nothing shameful in spending a few hours gross and costuming, and the more people are horrified of how bad you are with, you know, a little bit of OOC concern, the better it gets for you. As far as makeup goes, a lot of people get intimidated and think they have to have full prosthetics and like awesome gear that makes them actually look horrible. No, it's, you know, nobody's expecting that. That's way far above and beyond. Just go to a costume store or a clown store, not a Party City, but a real one, and get some water-based makeup. It comes in little tubes. It's like $2 or $3 a tube. It's cheap. It's easy to apply, easy to wash out. Just comes out with plain old soap and water. I like Monster Gray and Hunter Green, but certainly go ahead and just pick whatever you want. And just play around with it some afternoon, or better yet, at night if you can. Or just turn the lights out and just use a candle in the bathroom to get an idea of the lighting level. Just a real thin layer over your entire face and neck will do wonders. You can also just apply a little bit like baseball players underneath your eyes and then just mush it in a little bit to get kind of a sunken face. But just play around with it and see what works for you. The operative thing to remember is that less is more. If you put it on real thick, it's just going to look like blobs and not be great. There's also a couple fun tricks that NOS pull. Some of them you can emulate. While you're at that costume or party supply store, you can probably find nice cheap plastic animals. If you can find semi-realistic looking bugs, just throw a couple in your pockets, or have some up your sleeve that you can have drop out of you. Those are always fun. You can also put some rubber gloves on, fill them with a little bit of hair gel or some other similar consistency substance, and then when you shake someone's hand, your fingers will squish. My personal favorite gross-out gag is to actually carry around a little bottle of water, drop a few drops of black food coloring or green food coloring in there, and then just take a swig as you're walking around Elysium, subtly, put the bottle away, and then when you open your mouth to talk to someone, water falls out of it, just making disgusting spatters on the ground and dripping down your face. Again, we're playing fake vampires. Certainly, you can do with a little bit of water on your face for a couple minutes for a really great gross out gag. You can also go the entire opposite route and go with a Nos who, if you're playing a political Nos, wears the finest three-piece suits. You can go to a real store and have a nice suit tailored for you and made up. And then just go, if you can go balls out with the face makeup, or if you can get a wig or a headpiece that has patchy hair, something to be awful in that route, while wearing a great suit or a really nice dress, that can go miles in the other direction. But that does take a little more dedication to the makeup than just a little bit of clown paint. So I'm really glad that you all listened to my new Emerald Codex update of the Nosferatu. Again, my name is Del. You can find me on Twitter at @TheWorkedShoot, and hopefully you can listen in the future. Thanks again, and have a great time.